Frantic Nerdcast, hosted by AJ and Brock, talking about all the nerdy things that you want to hear about. Let's get into it.
Hello nerds, how are we? And welcome to Frantic Nerdcast episode 2.
It's the first time that we can safely say that we've ever doubled our content that is put out there into the world.
Pretty much right. Firstly, thank you very much to the massive amount of people that actually listened to the first episode. We're very, very happy with that. It's awesome, so thank you very much for that. Secondly, we now have a Facebook page that you can all head to. Just go to Facebook, search Frantic Nerdcast, and you should find us. Give us a follow. That's where we'll kind of release all the new episodes and stuff, and you can follow us along, get involved in some polls and whatnot and all that cool stuff. And the other piece of news is we are now on all of the podcast places that you can find podcasters. We're on Spotify, we're on Apple, we're on iHeartRadio. I think there's like 10 different places we're on. You just check our Facebook page again, and that'll tell you all the places you can find us. So wherever you listen to podcasts, you should be able to find Frantic Nerdcast. So, how you doing, Brock?
I'm very good. And look, just to sort of touch on what AJ just said, I mean, this was going to just be a couple guys having fun, and it was a lot of fun doing episode 1. So for everybody who came along and had to listen as well, it was really good. It was awesome just to see people sort of doing that and reaching out as well and saying, hey, we listened to that thing, and that was awesome. So, yeah, really hope we can continue to do that, and let us know what you want to hear about, as AJ said, through the Facebook page and whatnot. And
yeah, if it's nerdy,
it's awesome.
If it's nerdy, we'll talk about it.
Exactly.
So first up, let's get into our first section, which is gonna be trailers. Okay, so we've got a few trailers to talk about. Thanks to the writer strike being over now, we are getting bombarded with amazing trailers for stuff that we aren't going to see until next year, but we're going to talk about it anyway. So first off the mark is Rebel Moon. This is Snyder's new movie. It's 100% set in his world. The trailer looks impressive.
It looks phenomenal. Like, just watching it, you sit back and just sort of enjoy every moment of it. It was just cool. Like, you're out in space, you've got some sort of battle happening, then it goes to different space in the moon, you've got something else happening. It just was a lot all at once, just pulling at all the sci-fi strings. It was awesome.
No, one thing Zack Snyder knows how to do is make visuals. Like, that man oozes sex when it comes to the camera. Like, his cinematography is just phenomenal, and that whole trailer was just amazing.
Yes.
Plus the star-studded cast. It looks amazing. Now, I did a bit of research on this one before we actually start talking about the trailer and stuff. It was originally conceived as a Star Wars movie.
Okay, so when I watched it, I sort of, like, after the first sort of 20 seconds, you're like, Star Wars, is it? Is it not? Is it? And this was it without any sort of history to it. I'm like, okay, cool, but yeah, I thought it was going down a Star Wars route.
Yeah, so apparently he originally conceived it as a Star Wars movie with like a more mature edge. He pitched it to Lucasfilm, but it was just as Disney were buying Lucasfilm.
Right.
So that went nowhere, and then he pitched it to a couple other. Tried to pitch it as a comic, tried to pitch it as a video game, and eventually he pitched it to Netflix as a series.
Right.
And then they decided, oh no, we'll make it a movie.
Right. It's funny, like you pull on like the Star Wars and touch on the Star Wars. As I said, my first comment was it seemed like it was going down the Star Wars realm, and I genuinely thought watching the trailer that it looks like Star Wars but for more mature audience. Like it seemed like it was gonna be an actual like Star Wars type thing rather than a Jedi Wars series, so to speak.
It's got that very Star Warsy vibe when it's got the like the main character. She's sort of trying to live that lonely lifestyle, very Luke style, and then she gets suckered back into this resistance, and she has to travel around and form a resistance to take on the Empire. So it is very Star Warsy, but it's got Zack Snyder's spin on it, and it looks fantastic. And it is only part 1 as well. Part 2 comes out in August next year, apparently.
So is it a two-parter or a three-parter?
So it's a two-parter.
Okay.
So the second one will be called Part 2, The Scavenger. apparently he's working on a third film, depending on how it goes, which with Zack Snyder's always up in the air because people love to hate Zack Snyder.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see if he does something similar to when he did the Army of the Dead.
Well,
and
funny you talk about Army of the Dead. This is connected to Army of the Dead.
That's
He has
awesome.
come out and he's actually said that it's based in the same universe.
Nice.
Because in the Army of the Dead anime that was going to get made, which I think got cancelled by Netflix, part of it was going to be they travel through a portal. The Army of Dead characters travel through a portal, and they're at a bar,
Right.
which is in space, where you'd see characters from Rebel Moon. So it's all based in the same sort of universe thing. Because in Army of Dead, when they go down to the safe and they're trying to crack the safe and they see those dead bodies, those supposedly, the rumor is those dead bodies are those characters dead, but from an alternate timeline.
Right.
And
I'm going to have to go back and watch that.
and the safe is actually a portal,
okay.
and it travels you through, and that's why they reckon old mate that gets locked in the safe, he's actually travels into a different universe and all that kind of stuff. And and if you watch a couple, there's a few of the zombies throughout it that have blue glowing eyes and like robotic faces when they get blasted and stuff, and they're robots.
Right.
And everyone's like, oh, it's robots. And then right at the start of the movie, when you watch it, when the car's driving away, like just as the outbreak happens in Las Vegas, there's an alien spacecraft that zooms through the shot.
I'm watching it again.
So he's 100% planned for this. He's a very smart man. Like you watch his behind the scenes stuff of Justice League, and he storyboarded shot for shot, hand drawn himself on his tablet, shot for shot that movie. So he could literally make a comic book out of the Justice League movie. And he's even like he has movie 2 and 3 of Justice League done in the storyboards.
Yeah, right.
So like he knows, he plans things out. He's got an idea. So I think this is going to be a phenomenal movie.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. It was an awesome trailer. It was an awesome trailer without giving too much away. I thought
it gave nothing away. Yeah,
it just said, "Hey, here's this big epic stuff, like piece up in the sky, on the ground, all around, sci-fi." It was awesome.
Get ready for your nerd jizz.
Pretty much.
All right, well, that's all you can really say about Rebel Moon because I didn't give much away for that one. On to some Marvel. Echo, the Echo trailer. So, for those who don't know who Echo is, a little bit of backstory on the character because not many people know who he is because she's not much of a big character in the Marvel canon. So, essentially, she is Kingpin's stepdaughter. Kingpin killed her dad, and he kind of adopts her and trains her to be an assassin, mainly so she can kill Daredevil. So then goes through this whole thing where she's deaf as well, which is kind of the counteraction to Daredevil, who's blind. She goes through and tries to kill Daredevil. While she's trying to kill Daredevil, she falls in love with Matt Murdock, eventually finds out that he's Daredevil. Then she turns on Kingpin and shoots him in the head. Which in the trailer we see right at the end, we've got Kingpin, we've got the patch over his eye, which happened at the end of Hawkeye.
Yes.
So that's kind of that story. And just watching this trailer, it's bloody.
It's dark.
I was very surprised.
I was very, very happy because I know that what I felt this might be is sort of Netflix, the change between Netflix and Marvel.
Yeah.
Because obviously the Daredevil, the Jessica Jones, the
Defenders universe,
etc. They've all been picked up by Marvel, and now I think this is them sort of seeing what they can do with it and giving it that darker tone, because that darker tone is what made it incredible when it was on
100%.
Netflix. And I really got excited when you seen how sort of almost like dark, gritty, bloody that it was.
They're
like
ground level characters. Like they don't have superpowers per se, so they're just really just beating the shit out of people. So it should be shown that they're beating the shit out of people.
Exactly. So I'm looking forward to seeing some of the action sequences that come out of it.
Yeah.
I'm really interested to see how they do the story, how much sort of pre-Hawkeye, post-Hawkeye they're going to do from like a character build perspective around Echo, just to sort of introduce her.
Oh, from the trailer, because she's a Native American character, I believe, and in the trailer you kind of see the dad, I think, a little bit. So, and you see her as a child a little bit. So I'm guessing we're going to get some backstory about where she came from, maybe why she's deaf, why she's only got one foot, all that kind of stuff. I'm not sure whether she's an amputee in the comic, or maybe that's just because the actress playing her is an amputee. Because I know I'm pretty sure she's actually deaf in real life, the actress. So I'm not sure if she's actually an amputee if the character is an amputee or not. But I'm really hoping they kind of did it in Hawkeye from memory, where the sound design of the show, whenever it was kind of her, all sound would drop from it, and you got it from her point of view.
Well, they had that in the trailer.
Yeah, I'm hoping the series really encompasses that, so it drags you into her world, which I think would be great. We got a shot of Daredevil in it, which means Daredevil, isn't it? He's like, you can see a quick little shot of him jumping over a counter. Because he's signed up for like 7 appearances or something like that, plus his own series.
I didn't realize there was that many.
I'm pretty sure it's a heaps, because he was in She-Hulk. He's in this. He was in Spider-Man. And he's getting his own series. So I think there's a couple other things. Well, I imagine he'll keep coming back. Because I know Punisher, what's his name? The one that played Punisher from Walking Dead. He has signed on. So that the Netflix Punisher is now in Marvel.
Marvelous.
So I'm guessing he might appear in this as like a cameo, maybe, because it is a fairly gangster-heavy show from the looks of it. The other thing is we get all the episodes at once.
That's always fun.
Yeah.
Makes for a late Friday night, doesn't it?
2 days after my birthday. So that's a little bit of a birthday present for me. We get all episodes on January 10th. So that's going to be fantastic. Going to sit there and smash the shit out of that for sure.
And look, I hope that it sort of sets the tone for the introduction for these characters, like the Daredevil coming back in, Punisher coming back in, and I hope they're able to actually sort of drag that into the Marvel universe a little bit as well. Just to get a little bit more of that that gritty element to it. I think that'll play quite well, because at the moment Marvel's gone a little bit too comic-y.
Well, I think there's
not comic-y, sorry, comical.
Yeah, I think they're slowly trying to work that in, just for the sheer fact of next year we get Deadpool 3, which is going to be their first R-rated film. So
they got to ease into it, don't they?
They got to get there somehow. I think they got to get there somehow. The other thing I'm hoping, and from the trailer it looks like it, in that first scene where Kingpin's just belting the shit out of that dude's face, he's in the Kingpin attire, that pimp ass white coat. He just looks big and imposing. And I mean, it's 100% the correct actor to play it. Vincent, is his name Vincent D'Onofrio or something? The dude, the dude from SUV. But like, he's the perfect person to play it. And that just scene where he's just belting the shit out of dude, it just looks phenomenal. He's the best cast actor besides Robert Downey Jr. in all of Marvel, I personally think.
No, I'd agree with that, actually. I thought he was excellent when he got introduced through Daredevil and whatnot, and he was just, as soon as he stepped onto the screen, you're just drawn into whatever he was doing. And as he got more violent through it, and he's just sort of, he's off the chain now. So
that first season of Daredevil on Netflix was just perfect. That was a perfect TV show.
I hope Echo can take us back to that. And I definitely got like the trailer sort of had remnants of taking you back to at least that that feeling behind it. And I hope we go back.
Does the releasing all episodes on one day concern you or not concern you? Because up until now they've always been week to week. Do they not have faith in it? That's why they're dumping them all in one go. Or
I think it might actually more so be to keep in line with what they've done previously, because it is the first show that they've done, which is of the Netflix, like the Defenders. It is the first one that they've done for that, and all the other like Defenders,
they've been the previous characters.
Exactly, like the Defender viewers, or almost, and then people that's how they got it. So maybe that might be why they're doing it that way.
Possible.
Personally, I like getting them week by week.
Yeah, it's not bad. It
I
brings
like
me back to the old days of having to sit in front of the TV.
Exactly.
At least we don't have ads now.
Oh, it's one of, yeah, exactly. And I
You
mean,
young kids, you're so fucking lucky you don't have ads.
No, I really like getting an episode, getting to the end of the episode and going, wait, what? Fuck. And then it's like, oh, you got a whole week until you know what happens next and whatnot. So I really like that.
I do like it, except for the shows that should have been a movie. Like the Winter Soldier and the Falcon.
Yeah.
That show was a movie cut into 6 parts.
Yes.
So each time they cut, it wasn't really the end of an episode. It was just like, we're just going to cut it there and continue on. Whereas like Loki, Hawkeye, and that, they felt like TV shows, like episodic continuation episodes, but they were episodically done. So whether that might be the problem with this one,
maybe
it's not very episodically done. So therefore they're like, oh, let's just fucking dump it because we know everyone hates that kind of thing because it's just a movie we've cut into 8 parts kind of thing. So who knows? All right, let's move on from Marvel and let's jump onto something I don't really know much about, but I think you probably do. Fallout. The Fallout trailer dropped about 2 days ago now, I think it was. Yeah.
2-3 days ago.
Time of recording this.
Yeah.
Now, I know jack diddly fucking squat about Fallout. I have never played the video game.
Yep.
I've never watched anything about it. I know Buzz Cola. Is that Fallout?
Yeah.
Buzz Cola. I know the blue and yellow suit with the little dude that holds his finger up.
Yep.
The poster. And I've seen the like mech armor before. Sure. That's really all I know. So you talk about this one.
Look, it's from a game perspective. I got on board with Fallout. I'm pretty sure it was 76 or 74, one of those ones, and it was just it wasn't, that game wasn't the best. And then I actually went back and played the previous one, which was Fallout 4 from memory. And Fallout 4 was awesome, like a big open RPG where you turn up, you wake up from one of these Fallout shelters, you go into a world that's full of just, well, radioactive, this, that, and the other. And like it, complete post-apocalyptic, post-nuclear apocalyptic, but the timing around it was sort of, it's almost like everything was from a futuristic 50s and 60s type era.
What I read from the trailer, from the synopsis, is pretty much it's an alternate timeline where a nuclear blast happened during the 60s.
Yes. More or less, yeah. So everything is like it's occurred then, and then like humans have adapted from there, and from the people who have come out from the Fallout shelters. Look, I enjoyed the trailer.
Yeah. So from someone who knows the game, what was your opinion on the trailer?
I thought the trailer was a good ode to the game. So I felt that like you get drawn straight in with the blue suits that you see straight off the bat. You're like, oh, sweet, like that is Fallout. You get drawn in by the mech armors because they're a clan called the Brotherhood. So the Brotherhood is just one of those clans that goes through. So again, you've got the Brotherhood present there, or the mech armor suits that you can get or become part of, like that clan that kick through the game.
Oh, so they're not like cops or anything.
No,
like that.
they're not cops. It's kind of like it's more of a clan type thing where they've sort of developed their own posse which grows and grows, and they have an agenda. There's like all these different people who have different agendas. I'm trying to remember exactly what their agenda was. I think it's more or less trying to defeat like a futuristic type people. They're scientists. They're very futuristic, like with robotics and whatnot. So there's like robots which will turn up at some point in time through the series, because they were quite prevalent through the games. I can't remember exactly what they were called. So yeah, they're the Brotherhood, and then you've got the ghouls. So you get that guy's got no nose.
Yep.
He's more or less they call them ghouls, and they're at different states of how ravenous they are. They can be pretty much completely and utterly decrepit and to the point of losing their mind, almost like a raging zombie type thing, and some of them glow and stuff like that. One thing that they didn't show heaps of, or at least I didn't pick up on, was the beasts that can be out there. So it's going to be interesting how they do beasts. They sort of showed a couple of the roaches. So you've just got roaches which have been affected by the nuclear waste. They're just massive roaches, but apply that to a scorpion, which is huge.
Yeah.
Apply that to like pigs and dogs, which are huge. I can't recall seeing anything which was on the lines of ogres, because there's ogre type, almost like a big orc There's people like that coming through.
I noticed in the trailer there was like a big dog-looking thing that when it opened its mouth had all fingers inside its mouth. That looked fucking awesome.
I can't remember seeing that in the game.
It looks phenomenal.
But that there just plays to like it's post-apocalyptic nuclear waste zone where everything is affected in some way, shape, or form from to that. I think it will have some. What I'd like to see, and what they touch on a little bit, is pre and post the nuclear. So you can see, I think the trailer ended with the bomb going off. So it'd be pretty cool to see some of how the lead up to that, because I know in the Fallout game, the playing through that was actually really cool and like on the edge of your seat type thing, like you're running away from something because sirens are going off, and it's sort of like, oh shit, what's going on? So that was really cool. It'd be cool to see how they portray that in the show. And yeah, the post is going to be interesting to see how they play the main character, how they play her into it.
Because has it ever been a female, the main character?
So because it's an open world like RPG.
Oh, you design your own character.
Yeah, so you can be male or female, and you sort of carry from there as to how you sort of play it out and do what you do.
I mean, from someone who's never played the games, watching that trailer. It has me hooked. I'm very excited to see it. It just looks stunning. The visuals look amazing. The CGI looks great in the trailer. The characters, like the dude with no nose, all that kind of stuff. The dog smashing to shit that roach with the flare flashing over it. That looked awesome. It just looked really good. The voiceover and all that kind of talking and stuff sounded great. So like they didn't give you much in the trailer, but I thought it was going to be awesome.
And what I do hate is from the music playing in the background, it was really sort of like that 60s up and chirpy type of thing. So I feel like it gave me sort of a feeling that it's going to be a lot of fun, but then it sort of cut to, again, the nuclear bombs going off and the music sort of darkened heaps. So I think it's going to have some lighthearted, fun moments throughout, but it's going to also have some really, really intense bits through it. I think if they find that balance and have really good between the two, I think it'll be an awesome show.
I'm looking forward to it.
And just seeing the trailer, it looks like a pretty good ode to the game as well.
Nice. Well, that is coming out on April 24th on Prime. So on to, we've got a couple more trailers to talk about.
Yeah, it was a very big week for trailers.
It was a big time for trailers. So the Furiosa trailer dropped. So this is the prequel to Mad Max Fury Road.
Yes.
So this is based around Furiosa, who this time is played by Anne Taylor-Joy, who is a goddess. I'm in love with that woman. She's gorgeous, and she's played some amazing characters in the movies. She also played my favorite of the X-Men, Magic. And it looks pimp.
It does.
It looks fantastic.
I think one thing I'll say, like you had the Mad Max trilogies, which came out back in like the 80s and 90s or whatever. They were awesome, had good story around that time.
The third one, not so much.
But I mean, they were good to sit back and watch. And in my opinion, they've aged well.
Yeah.
Now, what I found with Fury Road, I didn't see it at cinema. I just watched it at home, and I thought this would have been great to see in cinema because it had really cool visuals and whatnot. But from a story perspective, it didn't have anything sort of pulling you in.
It was a road. It was we driving from point A to point B and then back from point B to point A.
Which, if you go back and watch the original 1 or 2, it's the same thing.
Oh, yeah,
except there was just story around the characters and whatnot that actually drew you into it.
Yeah.
Now this one, watching the trailer, it looks like it would be great to see in cinema because it looks like, again, it's got some awesome visuals. I reckon it'll have some awesome sounds to go with it. I think it'll be incredible from that perspective, but it also looks like it's got a really awesome story.
Yeah, it's practical too. He shoots nearly all the cars and like all the car explosions and stuff like that are practical and then like surrounded by CGI to make it look better.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So look, it didn't give much away. It looked awesome. I'm pretty keen to see a story. Actually, it's Furiosa, so it's actually, I feel like it'll be a good story surrounding her and how she
essentially
and whatnot.
The story I've gotten is she's in like a birthing camp.
Yes,
and she's taken by one of the head honchos of this villainous group, which is Hemsworth.
Yep,
and then he's rivaling with another group, and essentially that's the movie.
Yeah.
Right there. And that's just Furiosa trying to get the fuck out of Dodge and fuck some shit up while she's in it and eventually becoming Shirley Theron.
Exactly.
But it looked really good, and Hemsworth with that fake nose looks amazing.
The first thing I thought, right, I like seeing him in roles other than Thor these days.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Because you can just see, it's almost like he's got a weight off his shoulders, and he's just sort of having some fun doing something else. And just as soon as he comes on, he turns around, you see that whop and schnoz on him, and he's just like, you can just see the first thing he says, he looks like he's had a lot of fun.
It's him like on the mic, like, "Are you ready?"
Yeah,
whatever it is. Yeah.
It looks like he is going to have a lot of fun through this movie, and I enjoy watching him have fun like that. It sort of it was reminiscent of a movie he did recently, Spiderhead. I don't know if you've seen that. It was on Netflix. It's like
that's the one where he's the hacker
on the island.
No,
he's not a hacker. He's like trying to develop a particular drug to hacks human emotions and like human physiology and all that sort of stuff.
I don't think I watched it, but I saw the trailer.
Give it a watch. It's just him having fun during a different movie other than Thor, and it's a good movie anyway. So go give that a watch. But on the note of Furiosa, yes, awesome trailer. I very much am going to go see it in the cinema because it's going to have awesome visuals.
And also, for those of you who are listening in Australia, support this movie because it was directed, written, and filmed by an Australian in Australia. It was filmed in New South Wales, in two towns in New South Wales. Fury Road was meant to be filmed in Australia.
Yeah, but it was too green.
When they did the previews, they're like, this is beautiful. And then we had a torrential downpour and it turned green. So they had to shoot it over in Europe.
So the full history is, I can't remember about Mad Max 1, but Mad Max 2 was shot outside of Broken Hill.
Yep.
And that's where they went to the Mundy Plains.
Yeah.
And it was too green.
And another little fun fact for that one, Mad Max, and then the second one was Fury Road. Not Fury Road, Road Warrior.
Yep.
So they had to, in America, they had to call that Mad Max Road Warrior because they'd never gotten the original.
Yep.
So for most Americans, that was the first movie.
Yes, I did know that.
It's very funny as well when you watch Mad Max and then you watch Road Warrior and you're like, budget's increased a little bit.
Exactly. And just outside, like it's touched on Mundy, which is just outside of Silverton, just outside of Broken Hill. They've got the Mad Max Museum, which is awesome. They've got a bunch of the original cars, few of the replica stuff, few of the original stuff from the filming, and all sorts. But
so for any American listeners out there, these are real places we're talking. We're not just making up words. And if you ever come, go to the Mad Max Museum. You'll enjoy it. You'll get to see some cool fucking cars.
Exactly.
All right, last trailer. We're nearly there for trailers. Okay, The Boys Season 4. Oh, I cannot wait for this. It looks so good.
What I loved about it is it set the tone between Homelander and Starlight.
Yep.
It just said, right, this is what the series is going to be about. It'll happen as it happens. You just get a little bit of touch on a few of the different characters, a couple little powers and whatnot, and then it just ends with Homelander covered in fucking blood and gruel, and you see that, you're like, oh shit. It's going to happen again.
He is just awesome. Such a, like, this role and that actor. He's just fucking perfect, man. Just the little nuances in his face when he gives just creeps you the fuck out. And you're just like, this guy's a fucking psychopath. It's just by little tweaks that he does to his face when he's talking and stuff like that. It's fucking brilliant.
He's got jaw clenching with the camera on his face to a T.
Oh, yeah,
it's
100%.
like, oh my God. But no, that was... Oh, so I haven't finished V yet. That one. Oh, what's it called? The Generation V.
Yep.
So I haven't finished that yet. About halfway through, and I think from memory, it's sort of meant to have a little bit of a touch on how it plays into season 4 or something like that.
Without giving any spoilers because you haven't watched it yet. The ending of Gen V leads directly into season 4 of The Boys.
Yep.
It's essentially the stuff that happens in Gen V will be touched on in season 4 of The Boys. You don't have to have watched Gen V though to get it.
Yeah, I figured that.
Yeah, but watch Gen V because it's fucking awesome. So essentially, Gen V leads into season 4. Butcher is going to be what happens in Gen V will be mainly part of Butcher's story.
Sure.
From what I've got from a couple of different sites that I've looked up and stuff, Butcher's pretty much been ousted from the boys.
I got that feeling from the end of the last one. Anyway.
And he's now on a ticking clock from dying from... spoilers. If you haven't watched season 3 of The Boys, he's been taking the V compound, which is giving him superpower. It's giving him about 6 months to live or something like that.
Yeah, and you can see that in the trailer anyway. I mean, he's got like his whole temple looks like it's got a worm in it. Basically, his veins moving.
He's like on a ticking clock. The rest of the boys have gone pretty much fuck off. Starlight's now officially a part of the boys, and that's and the chick who blows people's heads up. She is now on the road to becoming president.
Yeah, I figured that would be something along those lines, or at least that would occur.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty keen to see how Butcher's story sort of unfolds. Even just how the previous one ended, I figured he'd be parting ways with them in some way, shape, or form. I'm pretty keen to see what that looks like. The other part that I'm actually pretty keen to see out, which they very lightly touched on, is Homelander's son. Yeah. I want to see how far he goes and whether it ends up just running with him down Homelander's route, or if he gets drawn back or something. Because there's a shot in the scene where he cracks the shit and just throws someone. You just sort of see that and you're like, wait, was that him? That was him.
Well, because he's also in a shot where Homelander's holding his hand up on stage.
Yes. Yeah.
So I'd say he's going to be a part of it. And I've only read up to... I think pretty much like the events that happened in season 3 in the comic with Soldier Boy and stuff like that. I've only gotten to somewhere around that in the comics. It was a while ago, so I can't really remember where I got to. And I think from memory, the comics are finished. I can't remember, but that's about where I got to. And I don't really want to read the comics now because I just want to watch the show and I want to see where the show goes. So I think that's going to be fucking awesome. And apparently the events of this season, season 4, are going to lead directly into the events of Gen V season 2.
Right.
So they're kind of doing a season for season kind of thing. I like that, but I hope that they don't ruin, because it's kind of poking fun at Marvel. The whole show, the whole concept of it is poking fun at comic books, poking fun at superheroes. But by doing The Boys and Gen V, and I believe there's another series coming as well, I'm scared that they're going to do the same thing of what Marvel's doing, and like you've got to watch too much. I hope they kind of keep them segregated as their own little pocket universes.
Segregated enough so that you can watch them on their own.
But then there's little things that'll carry through that if you've watched it, it's like, hey, look at that. That's for the fans.
No, I think that it'll be much, much better if you get that. But look, awesome trailer. It of all the trailers, that's probably the one that got me the most excited. And it was literally just seeing Homelander at the end covered in blood.
Oh, it's beautiful. And
it was awesome.
The funniest thing, I don't know how many Americans actually know this, which it just makes me laugh that Butcher and Homelander are both Kiwis. They are the least American / Welsh people you've ever seen in your life. Yeah. I mean, if you've watched Lord of the Rings, you've seen Butcher, Carl Urban, you've Judge Dredd, Carl Urban, which we're going to have to talk about Judge Dredd at some point in one of these podcasts because that is a fucking amazing movie. Carl Urban is my man.
Yep.
But yes, that is pretty much all we've got for trailers. So we are going to jump on over to TV shows, as our little stinger just said. And this episode, we are going to talk about the masterpiece that was Scott Pilgrim Takes Off.
It was just fun. Start to finish, it was just awesome to watch. Like, it's almost like watching some little geeky kid on screen doing something, which is awesome.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
And the visuals are awesome. The soundtrack is awesome. It's just so much fun.
Before we start, we will do this. Because this is going to be a giant-ass fucking spoiler for the entire series. If you have not watched it, pause this, watch it, come back, listen to the rest of this. Yeah, it was fucking phenomenal. I love how they played with the idea, because I've read the comics, I've watched the movie, and now I've watched this, and I love how they played with the idea of the movie happened, but the cartoon was going to be the movie, and then that little futuristic change sent it in a different direction. So then they had to try and reset it to become the movie again.
That was awesome. Because I've seen the movie many, many years ago, but seeing the movie, thought it was awesome at the time. I haven't read any of the comics. I actually want to go back and read the comics now.
So essentially the comics, he was writing the last one as they were filming the movie, and he was actually giving them pages as they were filming it. The main difference at the end of the comic, he ends up with knives.
Okay.
So pretty much Fiona says, look, we're not meant to be together. And she fucks off through one of the doors and he ends up back with knives.
Yeah.
That's the main difference from memory. It's been a while since I read the comics, but I'm pretty sure that was the main. I think there's like other little differences here and there, but that was the main difference.
Right.
The series, it kind of threw me for a loop, because Edgar Wright got the original cast back, back.
Yeah,
which
I
is
thought
fucking
that
awesome.
was awesome.
And
really
so I'm
awesome.
like, okay, this is going to be the movie, but anime. Or the comic, but anime. And I was like, okay. And I've started watching it. It looks like the comic. I'm like, fucking spectacular.
See, I didn't think that. I thought it was going to pick off almost at the end of the movie and actually trail on from there. So that's where I sort of thought it was going to go. So me seeing episode 1 just basically threw all that straight out the window, because it was like, hang on, this is how the fucking movie started. What's going on here?
And I just love, because, the first episode happens and then he died. And I was like,
yeah.
The fuck?
I'm like, oh, okay, so
where are we going with this?
And I went through the exact same thing, like getting to the end of the first episode. I'm like, oh, okay, they're sort of playing it a little bit differently. Like in the first one, he was just a guy who had no idea what was going on. And from memory in the movies, he couldn't fight. He was just a guy, and they were just sort of being introduced and whatnot. But then in this one, it's like, no, he's a fighter. He knows what's going on. So then I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And then, as you said, he dies.
And then
he's gone.
That second episode where it's like the League of Evil X's, where like Patel takes over and like Gideon, and I was like, the fuck is going on? This is what? And then and then I saw the little robot popping up in every little pieces everywhere. I'm like, oh, that's gonna have something to do with it.
Oh, 100%.
And then I just love that.
I said the robot was in the very first episode, sitting in the background.
Yeah.
And I think they said something about it in the first one. Like I think Scott gets up on stage and goes, "Is that a robot in the background?"
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, okay, well, that'll be something.
And I just love the second episode with the League of Evil X's part. That was probably the weakest episode in my opinion.
Yes.
I was kind of like, oh yeah, it dragged on a little bit. It felt like they kind of put a lot of filler in that one. They could have just smashed that part out and then gotten back to the main story. But then as soon as it got into Fiona searching, in each episode kind of was a different sort of scenario. And then when I was when they get the screenplay, when young Neil gets he goes, oh, I guess I wrote it in my sleep. And then you read it and you watch it and make it, and like, that's the movie they're making.
Yes.
They're making the actual movie. So we're watching like this weird kind of meta sort of situation happening. And it was just thoroughly enjoyable to watch that. And I loved, what's the roommate's name? I can't remember.
William, is it?
Yeah, well, it might have been. Yeah, he's just him in it, like that part where he's like, you suck. Oh, that was amazing. Why don't you take over?
Yeah.
And the director's name was Edgar Wrong instead of Edgar Wright, which was fantastic. And then I love the paparazzi where they're all like ninjas.
See, when what's her name came in to do the singing at his funeral.
Envy.
Yeah, Envy. When she came through, I just seen him. I'm like, oh, okay, this is just her entourage of people taking photos and whatnot. That's what I first thought. And I'm like, oh, that's a pretty cool little thing. And then it wasn't until the Lucas Lee episode.
Yep.
And comes and goes, oh my God, it's a paparazzi. And then just breaks into a big skateboard battle.
That big skateboard battle on the film lot was fucking awesome.
That was my favorite episode.
Oh, that was phenomenal. Yeah. I think my favorite thing of it all was Will Forte as Old Pilgrim, Old Scott. And then old Scott.
Yeah.
That was perfect casting, man. Like, just Will Forte and fucking, what's his name? Plays Scott.
Michael
Michael Cera just riffing off each other was phenomenal. Like Will Forte he's a god. He only has one voice, but he's fantastic. And then I just love the whole sort of. I like that they kind of got rid of Scott for like 4 of the episodes.
Yeah.
So Scott wasn't actually in 4 of the episodes. It was just Fiona trying to search through each one. It kind of, I felt, differentiated it from the comics and the movie, where their relationship didn't really felt a bit rushed.
Right. In
those ones. Whereas in this one, it kind of feels a bit more like on Scott's side, yeah, it feels he's still rushed, but that's his character. Yep. He rushes into things and stuff. Whereas Fiona, I always felt her sort of character wasn't the sort of person who would rush into things and she think about stuff. She's been hurt before. And I felt in the anime, she was a bit more searching and sort of more falling in love with him as she kind of reconciled with all the exes and stuff like that.
Yeah, far more about her journey to him rather than his journey to win her, so to speak, which the movies was kind of. Yeah,
and then also with the future stuff, you got that nice sort of what happens after the movie situation where it's like, oh, it wasn't all fucking roses. It went a bit to shit because Scott's a fucking useless piece of shit.
I love the the future component in that. It was what was her line? It was there was like, oh, I took a note from Marty McFly and went 88 on my rollerblades, and what do you know? I was back in the past. I'm like, that's perfect. It's like, oh, we wanted to time travel, so we did.
I like
it was awesome.
I like Will Forte when they're in the future. He's like, yeah, the future's actually more futuristic than you think it is, and it's just like a fucking D-pad, and he pushes in a code, and then they go in. It's just VR goggles.
Oh. VR goggles, and it wasn't 8-bit when they were looking at it anyway.
It was all shitty, and he used the fucking discs. No, we're more futuristic, 100%.
No, it was awesomely done. It was a good mix between it all. It was just, it got the sense of someone who turned up and goes, hey, let's do this, okay, and then just.
Well, it was made by the guy who wrote the comics. He wrote it or co-wrote it, I think, and also co-created it with one of his best mates, who's like a film producer kind of guy, and they produced it and all that kind of stuff. They went over to the studio in Japan because it's actually drawn in Japan by an anime studio who did I think it was not Devil May Cry, Devil and Die or something like that. I think it was called. They did it as something. Suru is the studio. So they actually it's 100% legitimate anime, just voiced by English actors.
Yeah.
And it paid off, man. Like,
the visuals through it, like it's incredible.
Yeah, if you go
all the way through.
If you go on YouTube, there's a onto like the Netflix behind the scenes or something like that. I think the channel's called. There's like a little 10-minute doco with some of the voice actors in it, and it's got them at the studio talking about it. And he was talking about how they wanted it to be very reminiscent of 80s and 90s anime with the overreacting and like the super stretched faces when people react and stuff like that. And I think it really paid off because it helped link it to that comic book world, but also just gave it that more enjoyable bombasticness that the kind of it is, because it's a video game come to life essentially. Yeah. And it helped lend itself to that, in my opinion.
Oh, look, it's funny you touch on like that old school sort of drawing and whatnot behind it with how they wanted to portray it. And like as soon as you get the first couple of scenes, that first episode, I thought like, oh, this is cool. This is old school. Like it really gave you that feeling as well, which was very, very awesome. Well done. Yeah. Very, very well done.
So if you haven't watched Scott Pilgrim Takes Off yet, I highly recommend you go and watch it. It is fucking phenomenal. If we haven't spoiled it for you now, because we've kind of just told you how it ends. But watch it. I think I watched it in a sitting. In one go. I
watched it over 2 nights. I thought I'd spread it out over
too long.
A week or so.
How did you cope?
I don't know. It was unbearable during the day whilst I was waiting to get home and watch it.
All I was thinking about work was Scott Pilgrim. No, it was fantastic. Yeah, so if you haven't watched it, watch it. Highly recommend it. Hopefully we didn't spoil it too much for you. So let's move on. Anime. All right, so we're moving on to anime, and today's anime is actually going to be a fan question that we posted on our Facebook. We asked if anyone wanted us to talk about anything or something like that, and Maddie Clift, he's asked us what cult anime will we remake into a Hollywood movie, and who would we get to direct it? Budget's not a concern or anything like that. So I'm going to let you take it off first here, Brock. Mm-hmm. What was your choice?
I actually went 2 routes. So I chose 2.
Oh,
the reason I chose 2 is because I did one as a TV series and I also did one as a movie.
Okay, that's fair. I'll allow that.
So first one that I did that I'd love to see as a TV series, Dragon Ball Z. It's the go-to that everyone goes to, but it's something that I grew up on.
Yeah.
They ruined Dragon Ball as the movie. It was absolutely horrible. It was just a pointless exercise.
It makes you want to smash your face against a table and then get fucked in the ass by a donkey.
It was just shit. Now, I would love to see Zack Snyder
Yep, okay.
come through and put his amazingness and creative mind into a Dragon Ball Z series. I think that would be incredible. And with what we've got from a technology perspective now, I just think it would come across onto screen far, far better than what it did.
So where would
it was done.
Where would you start with Dragon Ball Z? Like, would you start from the start with the Riddick saga?
Yes, I would.
Or would you push it forward to maybe the Namek saga?
No, see, it's something that I'd prefer to see start in there so that you can see it progress through. Because I would prefer to see a season around that, like a season around Namek, and then a season, I think it comes back and they do like Cell and whatnot. Yeah. So more or less have your big bad and do a series to that. I think that would be a good way to do it. But I'm not talking like doing a 300 long episode.
Yeah,
some of these.
Well,
I mean, hit the points. Do it in almost like 6 episodes. Just hit the points that they need to, and then that would be.
See, I think you'd go. In my opinion, it'd have to be. Let's say it's Netflix doing it. It would have to be 8 to 10 episodes. Series 1. I'd probably jam the Riddick saga and the Vegeta saga, the Saiyan saga in, and smash that as one sort of season. Because in that you get established all the characters. Yep. Goku dies, does Snake Way, comes back, fights Vegeta. You get the Azuru, you get the Spirit Bomb. You get a big Kamehameha. He goes up to Keikai level 4 or whatever it is, and then pretty much at the end of that, then you jump into the Namek saga. And then you'd have to smash. The Namek saga would have to be a season on its own, essentially.
Well,
But then in the Namek saga, I would probably try and work in the Borok. Is it Borok? Badik. His dad. I'd try and work that story into that because that has Frieza destroying the same planet.
Yeah. Okay.
And so that way you kind of get that bit of backstory. So you work on one of the movies into it, which means then you could eventually bring Bolly into it.
Yeah.
So
I suppose the benefit of doing it that way is it's not dragging out too much either. It's sort of because you don't want it to drag out. You want it to hit the point while still being like hit the point, play to the story, and establish what you need to.
And essentially, you want to get Super Saiyan.
Oh, exactly.
So that's what everyone knows what the Super Saiyans are. Yeah. And fuck me, did we get teased like fucking cunts during the cartoon for Super Saiyan. Oh, God, that irritated. It took like 20 episodes of him just going, like little flash of yellow. I was like, no, not happening yet.
So if they're going to do the live action, that would need to at least be 5 episodes.
Yeah. 3 seasons of Goku becoming Super Saiyan. Tune in next year.
Yeah. That from a TV series, I would love to see that. Because also, if it's something that's done well, then it can carry through. And I think it's got that continuation where you could potentially have a continuation. There's only one casting that jumps to my head, and it has to be Nappa, has to be played by Dave Bautista. Oh, 100%. Like, Dave Bautista is the perfect Nappa. Like, after seeing him as in Guardians of the Galaxy, like, that is Nappa, just him with a mustache and a bald head. He looked fucking pimp. Wait, did Nappa have a mustache? I'm sure he had a mustache. Oh, I can't remember now.
I can't remember.
It's been a while
sure he
since
had
I
a
watched that.
mustache. I know Krillin had a mustache at one point.
At one point, yeah, that didn't last long though.
He also had like the hair and
Yeah,
stuff.
that came back and gets to shave it to go and fight and die.
What's your movie?
Now, my movie, I would love to see a movie of Tokyo Ghoul.
Ooh, I think there is a Japanese one already.
Okay, haven't seen it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's a live action Japanese one.
But I would love to see that done by the Philippou brothers, who recently did Talk to Me.
They're the Aussie dudes?
They are the Aussie dudes. So they did Talk to Me recently, which is like a horror sort of thing. And it is an incredible horror film. And I'd actually love to see Tokyo Ghoul done almost as like a horror film.
Oh, it definitely is.
And I
horror,
think that would be awesome.
Yeah,
that would be
100% agree with that. I think, I'm pretty sure, you have to check on me on this one. I'm pretty sure there is a Japanese live action of Tokyo Ghoul. But yeah, I love that show. And 100% it needs to be like a full on, just tear your fucking head off horror movie. It would be sweet.
Incredible.
No, I agree with that. That's some good casting there. So mine is by far one of my favorite, or the encompassing whole series and saga of shows is my favorite ever animes. And that is Gundam. And I'm picking specifically Gundam Seed. Gundam Seed is... Have you ever watched any Gundam?
I have not watched any
Gundam. Giant mechs.
Yeah.
But the original Gundam and Gundam Seed, which is pretty much a remake of the original based on a different timeline. Because one of the confusing things about Gundam is they have multiple different timelines. But there's shows that come out. This one might be in the Universal Century timeline, which is like the OG timeline. And then this one's in a different timeline. This one's in another different timeline. So there's like 18 different timelines for this thing. So it's hard to tell what shows are in what timeline sometimes. But UC timeline, Universal Century, that's the OG Gundam. Gundam Seed is a different timeline, but it's essentially telling the same story from Gundam, which is... humans created genetically engineered people. They're called coordinators. They're better at everything. Eventually a massive war breaks out. Coordinators fuck off to space. They have big fucking things in space that they live in. And then the Earth fires a nuclear weapon at one of them, blows it up, and it creates this massive war. Humans versus coordinators. And that's essentially the show. And the show picks up on a neutral a space station thing from an organization called Orb. And there's like this young coordinator there. He's a neutral. He's not involved in the war in any way. And whilst he's on there, the coordinators break in and they steal these Gundams, which are just giant fuck-off mechs, but they're like better than the normal mechs.
Right.
But they can only be controlled by coordinators because the systems in them are so out there that only people with fast reflexes and brain power can sort of function them. And essentially, the coordinator steals some, but he gets one of them. And he ends up aligning himself with the Earth forces and battles pursue, bang, bang, bang. And it's all about, the whole thing is about war and how bad war is. And it's very epic, like it takes place in space with massive battles of Gundams flying through the air, shooting each other, spaceships fighting the shit out of each other, people changing sides, goes down to Earth, and then it's underwater battles, above water battles, and like people dying left, right, and sounds like you like a character, guess what? Fucking dead. That kind of stuff. So it's massive and grandiose. And in my head, there's only two directors that could take that grand scale of what it needs to be and how special effects heavy it would be, and that is the Russo brothers. Just what they did with Endgame and Infinity War.
Yeah.
They would be the perfect fit, and they're great with those sort of gritty moments and sort of war-y kind of aspects of things. And I think they would just go sink their teeth into this show. And then just seeing the fucking Gundams and just giant gloriousness. Like, the perfect special, if you want to see the closest to the best live action Gundam you'll see, it is in that, most people say it's horrible. I enjoyed it. Movie by the Wachowskis, the Jupiter Ascending.
Oh, yeah.
There's a scene when they're in, Channing Tatum's in like this giant fucking thing with robot wings and flying through. That was a scene from Gundam. Right. 100% that was a scene from Gundam.
I haven't actually seen
and they're
it.
massive anime fans, so I'm sure they've gone, that fucking Gundam, we're making Gundam. But like, it can be done. It's just, it needs the right directors and a metric fuck ton of money thrown at it. And it would be phenomenal. And it's not one of those animes that is so anime that when they make it live action, it's just won't translate. Like it's not a One Piece, which we spoke about last week. Well. It translated well. Cowboy Bebop, I liked the live action. All the fans did not like the live action.
I enjoyed the live action.
It's just one of those ones that what the story is, it's a human story about war, but the war's fought in giant fucking robots. And then there's some cloning thrown in and all that kind of stuff. But it's essentially a human story about war and how fucking bad war is. And I think it would just be a phenomenal thing done right. And it would have to be like a big two-parter.
No.
Just because the series goes for 50 episodes.
Yeah, okay.
And every episode, I think there's only one filler episode.
Across the 50?
Yeah. It's constantly happening. Like, a lot of it is drawn out stuff, like most animes. Yeah. But a lot of stuff happens. Like, there's multiple battles that happen in different, like, battle here, and then we move down here, there's another battle, and everything has key elements that's happening in it. And then there's a sequel series called Gundam Seed Destiny, which kind of flips the tail on it, where the first one, you're on the Earth Alliance fighting the coordinator, Zaft. And the second one, you're following Zaft fighting the Earth Alliance. But then all the characters from the first one, who are the big guys, like who are the main characters, they're like, no, we're fucking neutral now, and we're just going to fucking fuck up everyone. Because you're all fighting a war, we just stopped a war, so we're going to fucking fuck you all, that kind of stuff. And it's just that whole thing.
So if you're doing it that way, you could almost do it where you're seeing all that happen sort of at once as it goes through. But, yeah, it'd be, well, not knowing anything about it, it sounds like it would be very, very, like a big cinema epic.
Oh, it would be amazing. Like, I think the only issue would be, like, Gundam is one of Japan's biggest franchises. I mean, they have giant fucking life-size Gundam statues there. One of them walks.
Yeah.
So it's huge in Japan. So the market in Japan would be astronomical. But I don't think the Western crowd would justify the amount of budget they would need for it, in my opinion. So I don't think that scale of a Gundam movie would ever happen. There are other Gundam shows like Blood Orphans, which would be phenomenal as well. That could possibly happen because it takes place on Mars, and then there's some space fighting stuff, but it's like Mars, and it's one Gundam fighting maybe three. Like, that's the biggest amount of Gundam battles that happen, kind of thing.
So to actually get this one off the ground, you'd almost have to do like, hey, look what we can do, so that we can do look what we can actually do.
So I think, and the biggest one in Western culture was Gundam Wing. That's what kind of brought Gundam to the Western culture. It was done on that Cartoon Network Toonami kind of thing, and that's a good one. Not the best one in my opinion, but it was good. But it wasn't great.
Probably hit at the right time.
Yeah, it really did. But so that is my pick for what anime we should do. And thank you to Maddie for asking that question.
Thank you very much, Maddie. And look, we will even put that question up on the Facebook page as well. You can give feedback on your thoughts on what we put forward. And we'd love to hear some more of your thoughts or what you'd like to see transferred either onto the big screen or the little screen at home.
Indeed. And we will continue to ask questions like this. So if you want to be involved in the episodes and get your name like Maddie in the podcast, then we'll chuck it out there every so often and chuck out some suggestions and we'll talk about them. So we are going to move on to our last subject for the day. Gaming. So we're moving on to gaming, and now with the lead up to Christmas, we thought we would give you some board gaming suggestions for if you're buying presents for someone or if you're buying a present for yourself. And this is a good sort of one for us, as I'm a, let's say, aged board gamer I've been collecting and sometimes playing board games for probably about 14, 15 years now. And Brock, you're only new into the sort
fairly
of world.
New. I think I've been getting like board games and more so around. I think board games probably the last 2 to 3 years, and then other like wargaming and those types of things probably about 4 to 5 maybe.
All right. So what we're going to do, we're going to give you a list because everyone loves lists. So this is the top 5 games for Xmas present list. So I'll start off with my number 5. So we'll tell you the name of the game and why we think it would be a good pick for someone listening. So my number 5 is Splendor Duel. So Splendor Duel is a 2-player version of a game called Splendor, funnily enough. It's one of those rare cases where a board game takes a game that's designed for 4 or more players and smashes it down to 2 players and succeeds. Very rarely do games succeed when they do that. I've only really have one other example, which is Seven Wonders Duel. But Splendor Duel, really good fun. Essentially, in the game, you're playing against each other. You've got to collect you got to resource manage. When you get your resources, you spend them, you buy a little card. Once you've got so many cards, you win. It's super simple to play. Really nice. The pieces, it comes with some really nice little poker chips, nice little bag. And it was a little exy from memory, but it's well worth the price. So, Brock, your number 5, sir.
My number 5 is a bit of an old school one. The reason I picked this is because it's a really good one coming into Christmas for kids and whatnot. I actually chose Labyrinth.
Ooh, I like that game.
Now, Labyrinth it's a super simple game where you have the board gets laid out. Fixed onto the board is spaced out evenly is a fixed tile. And that fixed tile just represents a pathway through a labyrinth. And then you get a whole bunch of cardboard tiles that you put in between all those spaces. And once you've got all of them laid out on the board, you have one tile left over. And that one tile you'll actually push against the movable items. And ultimately, you've got a labyrinth that is constantly changing. And it's a really simple but really cool concept. You can play it 2 to 4 players. The goal is that you get a bunch of cards, and on those cards is a picture of various things like a moth, ghosts, dragons, things like that. And there'll be that picture represented on different tiles across the game board, either fixed or movable. Your goal is to land on that one. You can then show that you've landed on it. Once you've collected all of your tiles, so to speak, or pieces as you've landed on them, you then need to return back to your home base, and that's how you win. I put that in because I remember growing up with that game quite a lot. I've played it several times over the past couple of years at home. It's an awesome game and a really good game for kids and, well, adults as well. Really fun.
Number 4. My number 4 is Star Realms. Now, you've played Star Realms with me. So Star Realms is a deck builder, which is a game where essentially you have a shit hand, generally with like 7 purchase and 3 cards that do nothing. On your turn, you shuffle your deck, you draw 5 cards, you'll play them out, you'll buy cards from the middle. Cards you buy go in the discard pile. When your draw pile runs out, you shuffle your discard pile, and then you continue to play cards. In Star Realms, each player starts with 50 life, and essentially you're just trying to kill your opponent. It was made by ex-Magic the Gathering world champions and stuff like that. And it's a really good game to play 2-player. Can play up to 6 players, I think, from memory. There's 4 base games now you can get. They can all interchange. There's a whole heap of little individual booster packs that you can buy that you can work them in with events and stuff like that. There's big boxes on it. There's always on Kickstarter, so there's always something.
I'm pretty sure I've got a Kickstarter on the way in regards to it.
I've got one coming, and I believe they've just released another one on Kickstarter as we're speaking with like all shiny cards. Yep. But never buy shiny cards, people. They just fucking bend. But it is a phenomenal game, and you can pick it up really cheap. I think the original one from memory came in a little fucking blister pack, like a cardboard blister pack sort of thing you pulled out. It fell apart, but it was just phenomenal out of the box. And highly, highly recommend it. One of my favourite deck builders. So my number 4 is Star Realms.
Nice. So my number 4 is, it's actually a dice game. A lot of people would have heard of it. It's called Greed.
Oh, I love Greed.
Now, the reason I went for this is because...
Risk it for the biscuits,
Risk
baby.
it for the biscuit. Christmas Day comes along. You've either with your family and whatnot, and in the morning you're playing with the kids, and you know what? It's Christmas Day. They've run around. They're on sugar. You're rolling, you're just getting greedy, and you're putting the kids back in their place after they've gotten all their toys and whatnot when you play through. But as the days go on, you've had a few sherbets, and now the adults are starting to get a little bit greedy between each other, and they're just letting their hair down and whatnot. And it is very, very, very entertaining. So that was a super simple game. You come out with 6 dice. that have got GREED
and
and a dollar sign. The E's are in 2 different colors, and basically you roll all 6 dice. The intention is to get points based on what you roll. So let's say 3 Gs get you 100 points. 4
you've
Ds
always got a
get you-
score on your turn.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So,
to be able to roll again.
exactly. So you roll, you get points, sweet, you roll again, you get points, sweet, you roll again. Now, bearing in mind that you only roll the dice that you haven't gotten points on.
Yeah.
And then let's say you get down to your last die and you think, oh, I'm going to push it. You roll that last dice. If you don't get any points, I'll pass them on to the next one.
That's why you're risking it for the biscuit, baby.
It's an awesome push your luck dice game.
And it's fantastic for, as Brock was saying, it's fantastic. If you've been on the sherbets and you've got some drinks in you, it's a great game to pull out. Any non-gamer can pick it up in 2 seconds and play it. It's great. Now,
Awesome stocking stuffer.
Yeah, we changed the rule on our copy of it where I think from memory in the base game, it's if you get greed, it was 5,000.
Yeah.
We changed one of the points around to make it make more sense if you got it, because it was easier to get than the amount of points that it gave you. So we pulled points back. I can't remember which one without having it in front of me because we wrote it on the little playmat that comes with it. But yeah, it's a fantastic game and I highly recommend that one. Number 3. My number 3 is Scythe.
We haven't played it.
You haven't played
No.
Scythe? I've got Scythe. I've got all the expansions for it. Now, Scythe is by Stonemaier Games. It's a beast of a game. So essentially, this one is probably not for the beginners. It's a big boy. It will take you an hour, like probably 2 hours, 2.5 hours to play, especially if you've got a higher player number. Essentially, it is an engine building game, which is you start off with a little player board in front of you. You've got 4 different actions you can take. And then you've got a big board in the middle where you're moving, like playing sort of a resource management game where you're moving your little people around trying to get resources like lumber and coal and stuff. And then you're spending those to sort of upgrade your engine, which is your player board, which will give you better actions, different actions and stuff like that. And you're trying to score victory points by doing certain things. And then you also have goal cards. You can initiate combat with your opponents whilst moving big mechs around. The expansion's brought in floating airships that can carry your little workers around. And then even the last expansion created a sort of a version where you walk through a story and you unlock little boxes in the game, and eventually it brings in some like new player character like colors that you can have, new player mats, stuff like that. But just the base game is a big game and it's a phenomenal game, and it's all Stonemaier games. It is sexy as hell. Like, it is the component quality in their games is outstanding. If you don't want to buy the board game version, or you don't have people to play the board game version, there is a digital version of it, which you can get on Steam. Get that one as well. It's such a great game. I'm not doing it justice by explaining it right now. But if you've seen how big the box is, you've seen the art on it, it's sensational, and I highly, highly recommend it. So
well, one day we'll give it a playthrough, and yeah, we can give some more insight as to how it goes.
Yeah, we might,
or at least myself for a first turn.
We might film it and we'll make a YouTube channel and we'll put it on a YouTube channel.
Sounds
Don't
great.
take that as a promise.
All right, my number 3. It's another stocking stuffer game. It's actually Hive.
I love Hive. Now, are we talking Hive Mini or the normal Hive, or it doesn't really matter?
Doesn't really matter. It's the same game, just big tile or little tile. So, called Hive, you get a bunch of hexagonal tiles, and the intention, each one has got a different bug printed on them.
Cricket, bee, ant,
Rhinoceros beetle or something,
Yeah.
spider.
Yeah, spider.
And depending on what they are, they can do different things.
Yeah, they move certain ways.
Yeah, so a grasshopper jumps over an adjacent tile. A spider like wraps around the edges. I think there's another one that can jump on top and things like that. And the idea is that you need to corner the bee.
Trap your opponent's queen.
Yeah, exactly. So everyone gets a queen bee. They get placed first.
So there you place the queen bee has to place within the first 3 tiles from memory.
Yep, cool. So you place the queen bee, and then the goal is to stop your opponent from being able to move and trap your queen whilst you are trying to trap their queen. Pretty simple once you get underway, and it's a lot of fun.
Super simple game to sort of teach newbie gamers how to play, but yet it is like.
It's addictive.
Yeah, it's addictive, and it's one of those games like it's super strategy heavy if you want it to be, and if you get good at being at the strategy of it, you are very good and you're hard to beat. But as soon as like you and another player who both have a strong strategic mind, like it is sweat starts pissing out. You're like, oh, what's he fucking? And you got to think 6 moves ahead. And but on the other side, if you just want to play it for fun, it is a great little fun game that you can teach anyone, really.
I think we, when we've played it through, there's a few games where we've played it, and I swear they've been over in 5-10 minutes. And then we go, right, let's play one more. We'll finish off here, play one more, and then about an hour and a half later, we're still playing the same one little game. Like it just. Awesome game, awesome fun.
And there are, like I said at the start, there is a mini version and a normal size tile version. So your normal tiles are probably like 1 inch, and then you got the mini ones which are probably half that, and they come in a nice little travel bag and stuff like that. So I think I've got the mini one from memory.
Pretty sure I got the full size, and you can also get like a couple little expansions and stuff. All it does is just like introduce different bugs that can do different things.
All right, number 2. My number 2 is a Talisman and the small box expansions. So Talisman, for those of you who don't know, is a very old game, originally made by Games Workshop way back in the day. And for those of you who don't know Games Workshop, shame on you, but Games Workshop released Warhammer 40,000, all those lovely little plastic crack nerdies that are charged way too much to purchase. So Talisman is essentially a fantasy game. You've got a big board, you've got an outside ring, and then an inside ring, and then a little ring inside of that. And essentially your goal is to get in the middle and beat the Crown of Power. This is one of those games that will make you hate your friends. So essentially you'll start on the outside, you've got to go around till you get enough power and craft, and then you can move into the middle, which is a bit harder, and then you can move into the center. Now, the reason I say Talisman and the small box expansions is the small box expansions add alternate endings to the game, which make the game a lot quicker, because Talisman games can go upwards of 4 hours if you want them to, especially if you've got lots of players. The alternate endings make it so much quicker. You're doing something different than just trying to get to the middle and punch a thing in the face a certain amount of times. And I think if you get I think there's 4 small box expansions from the memory, and they each add new end games. I think they come in the small boxes, or they might come in the big boxes. I can't remember. You want the alternate ending cards, which I'm sure you could download online if you wanted to. But the small box expansions, there's 2 specifically. There's the Reaper and Werewolf. The Reaper adds the Grim Reaper to the game, which is a lot of fun. The Grim Reaper moves around the board and can potentially kill people. And the Werewolf, you can turn into a werewolf, essentially, and go around the board and fuck people up. It's very good fun. The big box expansions, they're great. They give you more minis. They give you big boards that go on the edge of the other board. There's 4 of them all up. They add too much to the game, in my opinion, because they're adding like another 3 rows per each expansion that you can potentially go to, and it's too much to the game. It's fun, don't get me wrong. It's great when you've got all the expansions out there. It looks fucking awesome, takes up the entire table. You've got to have a monster table to play, but it's a bit too much sometimes. But the small box expansions, recommend them. So Talisman, it's a great game. It's been out for a long time. Went out of print for a while when Fantasy Flight Games had it, but then Spiel Games have it now. So grab it if you can.
Is it 2-player or is it plus?
It is 2 to 6, I think, from memory.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, because I've got a Batman version at home.
Yeah, so there's Batman, there's Harry Potter, Kingdom Hearts. I think that might be it.
Definitely. I've opened the box, I've set it up, I've read through the rules, and didn't get much further.
It's a very simple game, because you roll the dice and you move, you land on a thing, you flip a card over, it says, fight this or do this.
Yeah, cool.
That's the game. And it's also, if you want a much cheaper version of it, you can buy it on Steam for like fucking $4 when it's on special. So go for it.
Cool. My number 2 is this was probably my introduction to board games, Catan.
I was going to put Catan on my list, but then I thought, no, I'm going to go more gamey games.
I went for more games which are good at Christmas time as a gift, and more things that are simple with an introduction into the gaming life. Oh. And Catan definitely was something I played several years ago now, and my God, it just hooked me, and I wanted to keep playing that night. I'm pretty sure I bought it the next day, and it's a game that Shan loves. When we've played it with some of our friends and whatnot, they love it as well. It's just a really good, simple game. It's all about gathering resources.
Fucking over your friends.
Pretty much. You get your little houses, you get your roads. Your houses get placed out in particular, like in the boards, and where those houses are on the boards will reflect some numbers, and those numbers are basically, when those numbers are rolled on the dice, you get those resources. They're wood, they're clay, they're wheat and rock.
Sheep.
And sheep, yep, and sheep. And the idea is you get them to build more houses, or to build roads, or to make bigger houses. You can also buy cards which introduce new things like, hey, I'm going to...
The knight's
longest road. You can also... There's a robber, so you roll a particular thing and you can
if you roll seven,
people.
Yeah, you roll seven, you hand the robber moves on the one, you can steal the card from the person you moved on to.
And it just blocks the number from being able to be rolled from then on. So it's super fun game. Definitely one for to play with your friends, so you can get really, really mad at each other, and highly recommend it.
There are expansions.
I've never actually played an expansion.
Don't buy them. There's no need. They're fun, but they're games in their own right. I have one of them. I played all of them. I have one of them. And in all honesty, the base game is enough. If you with Catan, I'm going to chuck in a bonus one in for you here. If you want a super simple version of Catan as well, there's the dice game. It costs, I think it was like $14 Australian. You get 6 dice, you roll them, and essentially it's really well encompassed what Catan is
super simple.
in a dice game.
I went and got it literally so we can take it if we go on a trip and travel and whatnot. We can just break it out, have a little bit of a crack at it. It's good, and it is a 2 to 4 player game. But from an expansion perspective, you can actually buy an expansion to take that same game to 5 to 6 players. So that may be one if you wanted to sort of expand into having more people at the table.
Yeah. Alrighty. Number 1. Yeah, Shimona. That was lame. My number 1 is Takenoko. Takenoko is one of my favorite games of all time. I have the front cover tattooed on my arm. I like it that much. Essentially, in Takenoko, you are a farmer on a plot growing bamboo. And then there's this pesky little panda that's going around trying to eat your fucking bamboo. That's the plot of the game. So essentially on your turn, you get 2 actions that you can perform. You can draw a card. You can move a farmer. So essentially you can move the farmer to grow some bamboo, and depending on what color the tile is that the bamboo's on, it'll grow that color tile, that color bamboo. They can only go to certain heights, so they can only go 4 high. And you've got 3 different types of cards, and your cards are how you score points. The first 10 points wins. One of the cards is specific types of bamboo at certain heights. So one card might be like, you need 2 pink stems at 3 high. And if you get it, you can score it. The other one might be the panda who moves around the board at the start of the game and eats. He can move around and eat bamboo. And you put it into the panda's stomach, and you have to eat 1 pink, 1 green, 1 yellow kind of thing. And then the other one is plots. So when on your turn, if you want as an action, you can lay a new plot down. So it'll be pink, green, etc. And the other cards might be you have to have 4 pinks in a certain order. And then the other action you can do is you can get water little things, which you have to irrigate the tiles for them to grow bamboo. Super simple game. It's gorgeous. And it plays really, really well. It's a great beginner game, like a really good introductory game to play for people. And there's also a little expansion you can get, which is not necessary in the slightest bit. Essentially, it adds a female panda, and they have sex, and you get baby pandas. That's essentially what the expansion adds. Pandas fucking, and you get baby pandas. But it's a great game, and if you play it and you love it like I do, there is a big box version of it, which comes in a beautiful wooden box with a huge miniature panda, huge farmer, massive bamboo tiles. It's gorgeous, but it's like $400 to buy. And it's been on Kickstarter a couple of times as well. Great game, highly recommend it. And awesome art, as you can see by my arm with the panda with rain on it. So my number one is Takenoko.
Right, my number one is actually Carcassonne.
Oh, yeah.
Carcassonne, again, another super, super simple game. I went and got the big box a couple of years ago,
It's got
which
like
just
5 expansions.
No, I think it's got like up around like 10 or 11 expansions in it, something like that. And some of them are like super small. It like introduces 3 tiles, which are like main tiles, but then other ones which introduce a whole swag. Like there's pigs and additional farmers and rivers and all sorts of things. But in any case, what it is you get a whole bunch of tiles. They're land tiles. They start upside down or face down to the table. Whoever goes first lifts the first tile, flips it over, and that's your starting point. And you literally just go turn for turn, trying to play off of whatever that starting tile was. You can get castles, you can get just bits of land, you can get things with castles and roads, you can get ones that half pieces, you can get chapels, I think it is, or churches.
Yeah, churches, yeah.
And crossroads and all sorts of things like that. And the idea is that if you get a castle piece, then you can put your castle down, and then you can put a little meeple onto the castle. Now, on your next go, you might get a piece that's a finishing piece to a castle. Now, you can put it down, if you're able to, adjacent that castle piece, and you would finish the castle, and then you would score those points.
And get your worker back.
And get your worker back. And that's the idea. You want to build castles, finish castles, get points. Build roads, finish roads, get points. We touched on church, so you get a church piece, put a meeple on that church. If you surround the church, you then get the points for surrounding the church. You get your meeple back. You can also do a thing where you get farmers, and you can place farmers, and you get points at the end of the game. Now, you don't get your farmers back because they just sit on the grass the whole time, and they get points dependent on how many finished castles there are within that plot of land. And that plot of land is separated by roads and other castles.
And they can be the thing that wins the game too.
They can be. Like, you can put one down right at the start, and if you play it well to finish a bunch of castles through the whole thing, you can maybe get 10 to 15 points through the game, and then all of a sudden you got a nice little plot of 60 points right at the end.
Yeah, and again, this is another game that
super simple.
Super simple. The base game is not expensive at all.
No.
And also there is a digital version of it as well on Steam. I mean, digital versions are never as much fun because they're never as... You're not sitting around a table with the people enjoying it, having bevies and whatnot. But it's there if you want to try it.
And to touch on that, like, it is good. There are, like, on Tabletop Simulator, it's
a really good version.
On Tabletop Simulator. That's actually where I was introduced to it because during COVID, let's jump on and, and do something. So, that was where I picked it up, and then I seen a big box.
Have you got the official version?
Yeah, I've got the official version. Yeah, on I do have the official version on Steam. I thought the TTS version was better.
Yeah, so do I. It's not as bloated.
Yeah.
It plays a lot quicker, but yeah. Some people don't like Tabletop Simulator, so it's a lot of work to get going if you don't know what you're doing as well.
Yeah, that's true. So yeah, my top pick was Carcassonne because it is, again, a super simple game, but it is awesome fun.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, nerds and out there, that is the end of today's episode. Thank you very much if you've gotten this far for hanging out with us. Don't forget, please head to our Facebook page, give it a follow, give it a like. Share for us, guys. We want to get it out as far as possible. So if you guys could just share either the link to this episode, the link to the Facebook page, we want to get it outside of Australia, out to the world. We want to get people listening in. If you want to get your name chucked into an episode, head onto the Facebook page and chuck out some ideas that you want to hear us talking about, whether it's a new trailer you want to hear us talking about, a TV show, a movie, comics, whatever it is. We will look at it and we'll think about it, and then we might talk about it. But yeah, so thank you again to Matty for his suggestion with the anime movie. And thank you very much for listening.
Thank you very much, guys, and we'll talk to you next time.